Hey, this is TJ from tjontheroad.com coming back to you about the ASM Hydrasynth. This is part 2 of the video series on the Hydrasynth that I'm doing. Today I want to just go through the architecture of the synth, and we'll try to do some programming and see what kind of sounds we can come up with. Just to start out with, you have the signal flow here, so I want to go through that. You have 3 oscillators, oscillator 1, 2, and 3. Oscillators 1 and 2, they go through 2 what they call mutants, okay, each. And then oscillator 3 goes directly to the mixer here, as well as oscillator 1 and 2 after they pass the mutants. Then you also have a ring and noise generator, ring mod and noise generator. Okay, so if you go through the mixer here, you'll see next it goes to the 2 filters that can be in either series or in parallel. Then it goes to the amp section, then the pre-effects, delay, then reverb, then post effects. Now the pre-effects are usually, like mod effects, say chorus, flange, phasing, that type of thing. Okay. Then you have on top here, you have 5 envelopes and 5 LFOs, which is killer, for all the modulations that this thing can do. Now, LFO 1 and envelope 1 are tied to the filter. Envelope 2 and LFO 2 are tied to the amp. They can be routed to any other destination, but their one main destination is for those functions, and the remaining LFOs and the remaining envelopes can be routed to anywhere as well. So let's just take a look at that. If you hit oscillator 1, okay, I have it on an initialized patch. Let's make it an initialized patch first. See that? Initialize, and initialize the patch. And if we hit oscillator 1, okay, you'll see it's on a sawtooth wave. And you can change that, okay, over here in the master control section to a single wave or the wave scan function. We'll talk a little about that, okay? Or so if you want the single wave, you can have the saw, all these different waves available, pulse, horizon. There's like a gazillion waves in here. All kinds of fun stuff. Alright, let's just turn the dial and pick one. That's a good looking one, okay? And then we can go into the mutants, okay? Mutant 1, you have the mode, say FN linear for FM synthesis. You have the wave stack, and you have the oscillator sync, pulse width squeeze, which is a different type of pulse width modulation, and they have a different type, and then they have these harmonics. So let's just pick the original pulse width modulation, just for example. Okay, and then in the second one you can have you can also have another one. You can have, say, the pulse width squeeze, which is just a different type of pulse width modulation. And you can do the same things over here with oscillator 2. Okay, and then oscillator 3, okay, can only be a single cycle wave. Maybe it's good for things like a sub oscillator. See, it's already defaulted to -12 for that. Okay, and then you also have here the ring noise generator and noise generator. Okay, so you can have the ring noise volume or the noise volume here, and then you can select the type of noise: white, pink, brown. Okay, and you can choose the source for the modulation. Then it comes to the mixer section. You have your ability for oscillator 1, 2, and 3 to set up the set up the amount, and then the ring and the noise. Okay, and this solo section is on and off. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well. Next, it goes into the filter section, filter 1 and filter 2. Okay, and you get to choose all your filter types. Lots of different filter types. You'll see them all in the manual there. The envelope amount, The LFO amount is defaulted from LFO1, the cutoff, the velocity aspect of the envelope, its resonance, and the key track. And the same thing is true for the filter 2. And this has a morphing function. This is set up for morph. Okay, so it morphs from low pass, band pass, and high pass. Okay, and you can set that up for the LFO, LFO2 here, excuse me, and then the cutoff as well. Next, it goes into the amp section. Okay, so you can set up the amount of the LFO that goes with that, as well as the envelope amount, and then the amp level. Next, it goes into the pre-effects section, and it gives you all the different ones: chorus, flanger, rotary, phaser, lo-fi effect, tremolo, EQ, compression. Alright, and then it can go into the delay. It has different types of delay: basic mono delay, basic stereo, panning delay, okay, LRC delay. I forget what that is from the manual. I'll look it up. Reverse delay. And then you have the reverb section. Gives you a whole new set of reverbs: hall, room, plate, cloud reverb. And then it goes into the post effects: chorus again, flanger, rotary, phaser, lo-fi, tremolo, EQ, and compression. Alright, so that's the basic signal flow on here. Let's make some sounds on here. Alright, we're back, and what we're going to do here is we're going to try to make a patch. Have no idea where this is going to go. We're going to explore this together. So first we're going to start with initialize patch. So we hit initialize and hit that again. Now we have an initialized patch. We'll go to oscillator 1 here. Okay, and you'll see it comes up with a sawtooth wave as the default. So that sounds like this. Lovely sawtooth wave. Okay, so, but we don't want that. That's kind of boring. Let's go and make some changes here. Now you can have either a single wave, okay, or you can change it to the 200 and some different waves that they have going on here. Okay, but the more interesting thing, and the big feature with the Hydrasynth, is the wave scan. Okay, now in order to do the wave scan, you got to do two things. One, you have to decide which waves that you want it to scan through, and then you have to set up an LFO to run through in order to have a source and destination of modulation of the wave scan. So we're going to do that. First, we go to the wave list, edit. Okay, the first wave defaults to a saw. Alright, but we want to change that. Let's say, pick any one. Okay, we're going to go pick two of them just for fun. Okay, so we have two very different waves. Okay, now we want to set up the wave scan, so we're going to use LFO5 for that. So I take LFO5 and I hold it down, and I go to oscillator 1, I hold that down, and it brings up the mod matrix. And it already sets the source and destination of the mod matrix. But I do need to change it from pitch, okay, because if I have it on pitch, okay, that's what it's going to be. We don't want that, though. We want it to wave scan. So there's the wave scan. Now you're going to be able to hear it wave scan through those two different waves we selected before. Okay, that's pretty awesome. Go back to LFO5. We can change the parameters. Let's say, make it a little faster. Change the rate. Reduce the level. Alright, change it from a sine wave to a triangle. Okay, next thing we're going to do with this path on oscillator 1 is we're going to go to mutant 1. Okay, and with the mutants you have different selections. You have the FM linear as the default. You have what's called the wave stack, okay, which is the same wave, the same wave that's duplicated. We'll go through that in a moment, but I want to take something more similar. The oscillator sync, the pulse wave, which is the typical pulse wave that you see. I'll just show you the rest of them. There's a harmonic, ASM pulse wave, what they call a squeeze, and this is the traditional pulse wave. So if I set this up to do the pulse wave modulation, say at about 50% roughly. There you go. You have the classic. There you have the classic pulse wave modulation there. Mutant 2. Let's set that up for. Okay. How about the wave stack where it multiplies the waves? So we can increase the depth on that. Alright, that sounds pretty interesting. Just as a start. Now let's look at the mixer here. The mixer default brings the oscillator 1 all the way up, but oscillator 2 and oscillator 3 are down, as well as the ring and the noise. Okay, so I'm going to bring oscillator 2 up a little bit. Alright, and then I'm going to go to oscillator 2, and I'm going to do a different type of wave scan. So we're going to go to the edit list again, just randomly picking stuff here. Okay, beautiful looking little wave. Okay, I wanted to use the same LFO for that, so I'm going to hold LFO down now, and I'm going to hit oscillator 2. Okay, and again I'm going to change it from pitch to the wave scan and increase the amount. Okay, just so you hear the difference in the amount, we'll do it as you hear it. Alright, it might be easier if I bring this out and you can hear this one here. Alright, so that's oscillator 2 just by itself. Now if I bring oscillator 1 back in. Okay. Alright, and oscillator 2, it's mutant. Let's try the wave stack first. Okay, so we'll bring the depth here. The wet dry mix, excuse me. And a little more depth. Alright, and the second mutant. We'll try the FM linear. Okay. That brings in some interesting sound there. Alright, now we're going to go to oscillator 3. Okay, oscillator 3 doesn't let you do the wave scan. You can only get a single wave, but it's very good for, say, a sub-oscillator. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at a -12 there, and let's say, let's make it a simple triangle saw. Alright, I come to the mixer. I'm going to bring that up. Alright, and then you have the noise. You have different types of noise here and the ring modulator. You have white, pink, brown. Alright. Let's just for a heck of a try the brown. Back to the mixer. I'm going to bring that up. Okay. And for the ring noise, we'll bring a little bit of ring modulation in here. Alright, back to the mixer. So you have oscillator 1, 2, 3, 4, and the ring and the noise in here. Now we can go to the filter section. Okay, has several different types of filters here. You want to look through the manual to get that. This is just a basic low pass type filter. Okay, so let's take the cutoff on there. And maybe raise the resonance a little bit. Alright, and on filter 2, okay, this is set up for the morph, where it morphs from the high pass to the band pass to the low pass. Okay, so I'm going to bring bring the cutoff there. And it's starting to sound like an interesting organ-like sound. Okay, so you'll see here with the filter, you have the envelope and you have the LFO. Okay, so this organ sound, let's leave the attack the same, but maybe bring the sustain down a little bit. Okay, and the LFO, I want to change that. I guess the sine wave is more appropriate. Okay, we go back to the filter and we select the LFO mount. Just a little bit for filter 2. That's pretty high up, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the octave here that the pads are playing. The way you do that is hit shift, octave down, okay? Okay, so that's a little bit on the filter. Let's go to the amp here. I want to raise the level because it's a little low. Okay, and then we have the envelope. I'm going to give it a little bit of release here. There we are. That's starting to sound like something there. And maybe for LFO 2, that's to the amp. Okay, let's give it a little bit of random LFO for the amp, but I want to reduce it a little. So give a little bit of randomness to the amount of amplifier. Okay, and we'll give it a little bit of fade too. Alright, and I want to raise the rate on that. Okay, so let's go to the pre-effects. And you have the different types here. You have chorus, flanger, rotary. Let's go with the rotary, see what that sounds like. Alright, I kind of like that. You also have phaser, lo-fi, tremolo, EQ, as I mentioned before in the video. So I'm going to go with the rotary. Raise the dry wet. Let's put a little bit of delay in here. Some stereo pan. And some reverb. I'll leave the hall on there. Make it really big and churchy sounding. Now you have the post effects. Now this is very handy, particularly I think for this synth, because this synth does have a lot of high-end information in it when you play it. So if you really want to take some of the high-end off of here, okay, you can do that. We'll just have a slight roll-off on there. Alright, that's starting to sound like something. Okay, so that's the basic idea of how to set up a sound. Okay, and then you can save it. Alright, so you save here, and that shows you where to save it. So if I want to change the name, okay, I just hit this button here. Say I'll give it the name TJ8, because I've already created 7 presets before. I want to change the destination. Let's say here, right over one of those factory presets. Okay, and I hit save again, and we just saved that patch. Okay, So that's the basic structure of how to set up the synth, how to set up new sounds. Okay. One of the really cool functions I want to talk about is the random function. Random, you can randomize any individual parameter, or you can randomize a whole entire patch. And it's really fun. It's addictive. So if you hit random here, randomize a patch, let's see what happens. All right, not much here on that. It's kind of like pulling for the lottery here, you know. All right, that's something interesting. All right, so you just keep hitting the button, save it. Makes a good starting point for a lot of really cool patches. In fact, I think I'm going to save that just for the heck of it, because I like it. Alright, so I saved that. Awesome. Okay, so this is the end of part 2 of this video. Okay, for part 3, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some patches. We're going to talk a little bit more about the mod matrix, how to set that up, and some of the macro functions. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to this channel, and thank you so much for your support.